All right, got the engine finally out the door, got to the machine shop. I was a little late getting out there, so I don't really have any footage. I just kind of dropped it off with one of the other guys that was there. Didn't really have a huge conversation with him. I'll be talking to the guy who's actually going to be doing the work on the phone. So nothing really to show there, just a small shop that I dropped it off at. A couple things I did. One of the reasons I was late is I did forget to pull some other stuff out. Water pump stud from the head, or water neck stud from the head. A couple extra bolts I left in the block. Another plug next to the water neck stud, and a bunch of these little, they're like little plugs in the head. They're for the oil passages. I wanted to pull those out just because I didn't want them getting lost. I feel better if I take them out of there. If I break something, I break something. The guy said it should take about a week to do that, so hopefully I've got it back sooner rather than later, but no big deal. You know, if they need some more time, I'd prefer they do it right. I've even got some new stuff in recently. So one of the things I've got is the V8 Roadster's engine mount. So these are pretty beefy pieces. This is in comparison to the stock mount here. Kind of difficult for me to hold these up. These are actually pretty heavy, but this new one is a lot stiffer. So the black bit inside here is actually urethane, so that is going to provide a lot stiffer mounting for the engine. With the increased horsepower, this thing's going to move around a lot more, so this is going to help hold on to that. You can see with these stock mounts, this is a large piece of rubber right here, and this will flex around as the engine moves. Literally, there's just two bolts that hold the engine for moving. They're at angles, so they kind of sit like this and hold the engine one on either side. All right, got a box here from Flying Miata, so you know what that means. Some cool stuff. This is a Flying Miata fuel rail. Now, this is actually part of their big fuel kit, specifically the big flex fuel kit. So this entire system is designed to be able to carry E85. Now, their normal system is able to handle E85, but in this one they include a flex fuel sensor and a couple of extra pieces of hose to be able to hook all that up. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff here. We got a Datchworks pump, 300 liter per hour. I believe this is a fuel filter. So brand new high flow replaceable cartridge fuel filter to handle all that extra flow and keep things nice and clean. We've got a ton of AN fittings, just loads of hose in this thing. Whole bunch of hardware parts, instructions. Finding out instructions there. A whole bunch of these like little adapters and whatnot. We've got the actual flex fuel sensor, the AC Delco part number right there. It is the Continental flex fuel sensor, very common, used in a lot of GM vehicles. There is an AEM fuel pressure regulator. There you go. So a neat little fuel pressure regulator, and this is a rising rate regulator as well, so you can reference this to your manifold pressure, and as boost increases, this will increase fuel pressure to compensate for that. So pretty neat stuff there, important when you're running boost. So this is kind of prepping for the entire build process towards the end, where I add a turbo to the car. A little harder to show off this dude, but we have a Flying Miata cross-flow radiator. This is custom made by Griffin Radiator for Flying Miata. And as you can see, it's welded up really nice. If I can get in there a little closer and show you some of that. But all of this work, really nice. So this is a cross-flow radiator. So the big difference here is that most radiators, you have two end tanks. You have one on the top and one on the bottom. And in that you have hot water flowing into the top of it, and it drops down to the bottom, and the cold water comes out. Which that works great for most cars. With this one, we've got a larger area because it's wider than it is taller. So in this radiator, the water flows from left to right. So there's like an inlet here and an outlet here. So the water actually flows across the radiator as opposed to flowing from from top to bottom, which is why this is called a crossflow. So this should provide some increased cooling. I'm definitely going to need it with the turbo, and especially since I live in Florida. So don't know how many track days I'll see, but this is pretty important, so I'm excited to have this. This also came with a couple other things, namely a pair of fans. So these are Spall fans. These are also from Flying Miata, and I have these along with the shroud that goes onto the back of the crossflow radiator. So this, I actually have two of these. So these are mounting to the same locations as you would for the factory fans. There's still two of them, but they've got some different wiring terminals, and they're high flow fans. So these guys will make a bit of noise, but they're going to provide a lot more airflow, which is important for Florida and for turboing the Miata. So we should not have any cooling problems after I do this stuff. Now, one of the other things I'm going to have to get, because of the fact that I have this head gasket that is from the older Miatas. This is the older version of the head gasket. I believe in 02 to 04, Mazda changed the head gasket. They removed some coolant passages or holes in the head gasket near the front of the engine to attempt to get the coolant to flow further back, so it would cool cylinder number 4 in the rear adequately, which was the reason that people have been doing coolant reroutes in order to have the coolant flow from front to back to prevent that heating of cylinder 4, the uneven distribution of heat inside the engine. But because I have the older style head gasket, which still has those openings, I'm going to need to do the coolant reroute. I've had my eye on the QMax reroute that just came out from Super Miata, I believe. As soon as it's back in stock, I'm going to order one. Hopefully I'll be able to get one before I have to get this car back together. So thanks again for sticking with me through this, and I'll see you on the next video.